Now, there is, as you heard in local news, a new study into the Murray region's softwood forestry and the socio-economic impacts after the Black Summer bushfires, and it's raised concerns about the industry's future. The report shows forestry is a major regional employer with more than 90% employed on a full-time basis, and the industry has bounced back strongly after finding ways to process burnt wood. However, Softwood Working Group Executive Officer Carlie Porteous says sourcing wood and recruiting a younger workforce are major challenges.
Well, the report found that due to the collective and the collaborative efforts of the industry, and that really came down to working together and having great relationships, they salvaged the burnt wood for 2 years after the fires. So that's 2 years before the wood started to deteriorate where they couldn't use it. That's not been done anywhere in the world. So the collective effort to research how to manage that wood, how to process that wood, how to recover that wood, is truly, needs to be applauded for the industry working in that region at that time. The 2 years post the bushfire saw significant economic growth, which meant that essentially the industry harvested, hauled and processed 2 years worth of work in 1 year to ensure that we made use of this extraordinarily valuable resource. Since then, there will be some challenges ahead. There are some resource constraints coming at the industry in the area, but again, they're resilient. They do have the ability to think outside the box, and I'm sure that they'll continue to support the communities that support them.
Can you explain a bit further what you mean by resource constraints?
Well, during the fires, there was an approximate loss of just under 50,000 hectares of softwood. So the resource, again, and something the report actually tells us, is this particular region processes 90% of the wood that it grows, which is extraordinary for Australia. So that means that all the resource that it's growing is essentially processed in the region. So when you do lose a portion of that resource, it does make it a little bit challenging, and it does mean that sometimes you need to go slightly further afield to find the resource that's required to maintain those really important regional jobs.
Yeah, and so a big replant has been underway the last few years to try and recover some of those trees that were lost during the bushfires. I understand it takes 30 years for these trees to come into maturity and when they'll be ready to be processed. So I guess during that time while you wait for these new plantings to reach maturity, is there a chance that the industry will have to look further afield for wood to process?
Well, you're spot on. It's about 28 to 30 years to develop a structural timber tree. During that period, there are what they call thinning activities that might go to other processes in the region. So it's been constantly managed, and there is fibre output always going to employers in that region to make critical products like pulp and paper and manufactured wood products. So we are very lucky in the region that there is flexibility around how the wood is or what age the wood is processed. As far as moving further afield, we do have some of the largest processors of wood products in Australia in our region. So the demand for wood is exceptionally high. So yes, they will likely have to go a little further afield to maintain, the level of demand that the customers in Australia currently have for wood, which is very high.
I read in the report that it found that there's been a lot of difficulty in recruiting and retaining younger staff members in the industry.
Absolutely, and I don't think the forestry or the wood processing industry is different to any other industry in a regional area at the moment. There are challenges, not just attracting young people, but just retaining the workforce that we do have. It's such with low unemployment rates, we have such an attractive market, and it really is an employees market. So, we're a great industry, and the amazing thing is when people do come into our industry, they stay normally. We'd love to be able to encourage as many young people in the industry, in the regional areas, to come into our industry, and that's really a job for us now to try and see how we can do that.
That's Murray Region Forestry Hub Softwood Working Group Executive Officer, quite a mouthful there, Carlie Porteous speaking to Annie Brown.